Now this is CGI. This entire car has been done on the computer, except that the landscape has been put later. This is an actual shot. Now this is an actual shot of an Royal Enfield. It's I think an old campaign where they have actually taken the bike and cleaned it and actually shot on location, which was I think a few years ago. And this is something that they have done recently. This entire bike has been done on 3D. There is not a single portion of this entire frame of the bike which has been shot. It has been completely done on the computer by 3D imaging. So that is what automobile photography is going towards. Again, the company had given this form of the Tata model, and the landscape was provided by the photographer, and the computer agency, the imaging agency, sort of made the entire model matched the lighting of the forest, matched. So it's not that photography is not involved. The person who's doing this computer generated imaging, a lot of times these guys are photographers, because you need an idea about perspective. You need an idea about the lighting. You need the idea about what time of the day the landscape has been shot, in what kind of a landscape, how a car will look in a particular kind of landscape. If it's sunset, you have an orange glow in the sky. If it's sunrise, you have a different color. So you are applying your basics of photography to it, but the medium is different. Again, completely CGI. Industrial photography, shooting for big companies, shooting their big products. This is what I meant by, in the example I said, people-related stories, where you see a lot of National Geographic stories being shot, which depict, like this story was about food sustainability in the world, where the photographer traveled all across the world and shot farmers growing organic vegetables. So that is something that comes into documenting people for magazines. This is fine art. This is actually a photographer, Indian photographer. She's very senior, Dayanita Singh. She does personal projects and makes them into books. She doesn't do commercial photography. What she does is she takes a subject, develops an idea, and sort of makes books out of them. So this was one project that she had done, where she shot all the old government offices. Government offices where files have been stored for the last 50-70 years and they've not used those files at all. And that is a subject that she developed, and then it's sort of photojournalism, but at the same time it is documenting something that is already present and showing it in a very creative way. Then there's this guy Raghuveer Singh, who is considered to be the father of documentary photography in India. He traveled the entire country in an Ambassador, when Ambassador was one of the biggest cars, or other. I think it was when Ambassador was launched, around that time in India, and he traveled across India in an Ambassador and shot people's stories through the Ambassador. And the project is called Passage Through India. And this project is one of, it's been made into a book, and it's been exhibited all over the world. So that is, it was not a project that was commissioned to him. It is something that he sort of thought about and did it. Then there's one more guy, Raghu Rai, who does news stories, who does reportage about human stories across India. So this is a story that he did on the Bhopal gas tragedy. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Bhopal gas tragedy. It happened in 1984. So he had gone to Bhopal, where he did a story about the effects of the gas tragedy. So this comes into the documentary aspect of photography. So yeah. So there are, it's photography is not just picking a camera and I can shoot models, or I can, there are 100 ways in which you can apply photography as an art into. So now coming back to what I am supposed to tell you guys, the options of getting into photography. uh, I when I was a student, obviously I was given an option of either interning with a photographer or uh, getting into a school and doing postgrad in it. Now, luckily, Light and Life Academy was. I think India doesn't really have a lot of schools. I think now they have around 4. When I was a student, like 5, 6 years, 7, 8 years ago, there was only 2 schools. One in Mumbai, which is called Shari Academy, and Light and Life, which was in Ooty. I think now there are 3 or 4 schools offering a postgrad in photography. One is, I think, Symbiosis School of Photography, then in Pune. Then there is a Bharatiya Vidyapeeth again in Pune. And you still have Light and Life and Shari. So you have options here in India now where you can learn photography as a profession. Or if you really like, or if you think that you want to get into photography, you can also, assist a photographer of choice. As in, because now the thing is, when we were in JJ, we knew that photography is something. So photography was a subject to us. Like, it was a part of our curriculum. So it was sort of easy for me to, get into the whole idea of getting into it as a profession. But yeah, so one of the options of getting into photography is assisting a photographer. Like, you can always start by, shooting things that you like. That's where, like, I also started doing that. I started shooting things I like, whether it is street, like whether shooting on the streets, whether taking basic classes and shooting products and shooting people who are close to you. You can start off by shooting your cousins, for that matter, if you really like photography. So there's no specific starting point into getting into it. A lot of colleges offer a master's in photography, which in the US or I think in the UK, so as an academic subject. And yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna I have to quickly do it. Okay, so I am gonna okay. So I've okay, now there are like 2 or 3 things, but okay. How much time do I have? Like 5 minutes. Okay. Let me see if I can show them something. So I'm going to just show you what all I do. So I sort of specialized in food and people photography. And this is some of my work. So we can probably talk about it if you have any questions later. So I'm shooting, like, there are times when I have to shoot a celebrity, but I get like 2 minutes with them. At the same time, I have to shoot a boring campaign like this. So then, yeah, this is the personal project that Sheen mentioned, where we shot kids for a diary. So this is not what I get to do every day. This is just one of those projects that I probably do once in 10 years, where the whole idea of the project was multiply innocence through the eyes of kids. So yeah. So this is something very non-commercial, which sort of comes in the fine art category, personal category. Otherwise, this is the kind of stuff that I do for a living. Shooting food for magazines like BBC, Good Food. Shooting food items for menu cards. I also do a lot of landscape. Or me and Omkar used to travel a lot. Now I'm getting married, so. So this is like when I used to travel with him. This is like I was always against. I went to college with a fixed mindset. Like when Omkar told you guys that don't have a fixed mindset of I want to go there and I want to do this or I want to just do this. When I was in college, I was too hung up on trying to learn studio photography, and I was like, landscape, I don't want to do landscape photography. Who does landscape photography? I want to do food, I want to do model, I want to do like model photography, I want to do industries. Yeah, you got the joke, right? Okay, sorry, whatever. So yeah, but as I traveled a lot, I sort of had this new love for landscape photography, and that has helped me. This sort of photography has helped me do the project that I showed you, the one with the kids. Where I could shoot those kids in environments that were not conducive to photography. But because I've traveled, because I sort of opened my eyes towards landscape photography, I sort of used that knowledge subconsciously while doing that the kids project. So yeah, now this is just one typical example of how we do a shoot and how it is applied. Like this was a retail campaign for Horlicks Foodles. Now, like this actually is a little important. I'll just stress on this. Basically, there are a lot of guys that come, like guys who want to come intern with me, who want to say, I love to take pictures of my cat, and they're really nice pictures, and my friends say that I should get into photography. So basically, commercial photography, the not so cool aspect is, as a commercial photographer, photography sort of is only 20% of what I do. As a commercial photographer, I am a proprietor. I am the sole owner of a company that gives services of photography. So my shooting aspect is, like I said, it only constitutes 20% of my entire life. I have to sort of keep updating my equipment. I have to keep track of my accounts. I have to keep updating, the work I do. I have to show my work to advertising agencies. Then I have to wait for jobs to come. Then there's this thing of where, there's a project that comes and an advertising agency approaches 5 photographers, and you have to send quotes. Your quote has to match the expertise. Your quote has to match the experience that you have in the field. Based on that, they decide the photographer. And if you are the photographer, then you have to do 10 meetings before a shoot happens. Then there are 10 things that you have to do, like you have to retouch your images, you have to work on those images, supply the send the CD across, and photography as such takes the most minimum amount of time. So there's a very big difference between I love to take pictures, that's why I want to be a photographer, and I want to be a commercial photographer. As a commercial photographer, it's more about you have to be have to love the business aspect of the art as well, and have to have a lot of patience, because you have to meet a lot of people. You have to meet 100 people, out of which probably 5 will call you back based on how your portfolio is. Okay, I guess that should be great. Thank you. Okay, so I just wanted I use this image to sort of show to people how I have progressed in my work. So this is something that I did in college, where we didn't know how to shoot a glass with liquid, but we still tried it. So you can't actually make a lot of there are a lot of technical errors in the first image. Then the second image is what I learned in college of how to do it perfectly, and the third image is something that I've done professionally recently. So yeah, that's about it.